Hey everybody, it's Nico here with a lecture on mitosis. If you repressed it from when you learned it in biology or biochemistry or chemistry or all of the above, that's understandable, or maybe you took another genetics class and you repressed it then too. But it's really important, and we're going to talk about it a lot, and a lot of disorders can occur due to problems that happen in mitosis. So you should have a basic functional understanding that mitosis is nature's cloning mechanism. It's used to make somatic cells. Somatic cells are body cells, basically every single one of your cells except for sperm if you're a boy, XY individual, and with the correct genes and everything, and egg if you are a egg maker. So yeah, mitosis makes all your liver cells, big toe cells, brain cells, etc., etc. So mitosis in a nutshell is what I just said. It's making two identical cells. We call them daughter cells. So when one cell is going to split, that initial cell is called the parent cell, and then the two cells that result after mitosis are called the daughter cells. And again, it's always a somatic cell, a body cell, could be an eyeball cell, a heart cell, a liver cell, a pancreas cell, who knows what. It's not an egg cell, and it's not a sperm cell either, because those are made via meiosis. Memes, because why not? Yes. So here we've got the little cat who needs your undivided attention to learn about mitosis. Funny, because it's all about cell division. We kind of talk about it like you're making a photocopy of your genetic material and splitting it in half. This dog looks like he's mitosing. Memes, yay. Mitosis isn't so bad. Hopefully, by the end of this course, if you see a mitosis meme on Instagram, it'll at least make sense, if it doesn't already. So when do we mitose? Because mitosis is like a process. It's like a verb to mitose. We do it when we're growing and developing, like when you're a fetus growing inside of your mom, or when you're growing from a child to an adult. After an injury, if you need to make new knee cells because you've scraped the skin cells off your knee, you would mitose and make a bunch of different copies to fix that problem. And also just sort of when needed, if you're going to need new cells for whatever reason, whatever purpose or stage of life you're at. Pregnant women have different types of structures that they need to support a developing fetus, and they would be produced via mitosis too. So the cells are identical. Really, it's just a photocopy. All the chromosomes line up in a single file line and just split in half. And so all that's happening is that two sister chromatids are produced from a single chromatid via replication, and those are exactly genetically identical. So they've got the same genes, obviously, because it's the same chromosome, but it's not like a maternal copy and a paternal copy that we got from different parents. This is a single chromosome, which is just duplicated, and so we've got all the same alleles all along the chromosome, unless there's been a copying error, but for the most part, they're identical. We don't have crossing over, which happens when we form a double file line in meiosis. So all the cells are going to look exactly like the parents. The daughter cells look like the parents. What you might remember from mitosis, learning it before, and what tends to be what people tell me when I ask them to describe mitosis, is that there are a lot of different phases. They all have names. Honestly, I don't care if you know them. That's not going to be something that I would ever test you on. So as far as I care, don't waste your time. But the Reader's Digest version is that cells exist and chromosomes eventually become visible. In prophase, they have already duplicated, so they're now X-shaped chromosomes. You don't need to know the name of that phase, but basically, like, we have DNA synthesis happening here. We go from single chromatids to X-shaped chromosomes, and then they line up in the middle. All of the chromosomes will line up and split in half, and then we get division into two cells, and we get equal splitting of the cytoplasm so that each cell has a nucleus with the right number of chromosomes and all the other supporting organelles that cells need to be cells, whatever types of cells those are. So that's mitosis in a nutshell. Copy the DNA, go from linear shaped things to X shaped things, line all the X's up in the middle, and split them apart. It's great if you are growing or healing from an injury, or you're, performing some important body function that your body's like, we need to be making more cells for this reason at this time. But it can be bad if it goes unchecked and goes uncontrolled. So what's not on this diagram here is that there are some cell cycle checkpoints that are supposed to get sort of stopped at, and the cell is supposed to look at its genetic material and be like, is my DNA looking good? Do I have the right amount? Is there anything wrong that would make this cell not healthy? Because we know that DNA is the recipe for proteins, and so, if there are major issues with the DNA, the cell's not going to be able to produce the correct proteins, and then it would normally say, hey, I don't need to mitose right now, I'm not a good cell, maybe just kill me off instead even, but certainly, let's not clone me. And so we've got those checkpoints that are supposed to happen. Sometimes they go unchecked and you can't control it, which occurs in cancer. And so we see cells that are just mitosing. They're supposed to stop at these cell cycle checkpoints and get evaluated, and that never happens. And so as those cells accumulate, they form, potentially a solid tumor, potentially some sort of liquid tumor, depending on what cancer type it is, but too many cells, and they can invade other tissues, they can metastasize, they have other properties based off of their genetic mutations, such as being able to generate new blood vessels and make their way through the lymph system and all sorts of things. But one of their big characteristics is they just ignore the cell cycle checkpoints and they say, yes, you need more of me, I'm going to keep making copies of myself. So that is your crash course in mitosis. I could literally talk to some of you about this for the entire 16 weeks and you would still be confused. If that's you, maybe just schedule some office hours with me. The things that you definitely need to be responsible for knowing is that mitosis occurs only in somatic cells. We do it when we're growing, we do it when we're healing, or when we need new cells for another reason. It is in contrast to meiosis, which produces sperm and egg. You definitely need to know that the daughter cells are an exact copy and there's no crossing over, which we see in meiosis, which is a good thing when you're making a baby because it allows you to sort of combine the genetic material that you got from both of your parents, which might create some novel combination. So if you ever, if you have your maternal grandfather's beautiful red hair and your maternal grandmother's sparkling green eyes, maybe that was recombined onto the same chromosome, and they did it to improve the gene pool, whatever. It's an evolutionary thing that happens. In mitosis, we're trying to take one knee cell and make two knee cells. We want an exact copy, no crossing over. And then it goes awry in cancer. If you have any questions about mitosis, we can talk about it. We will talk about how people can get Down syndrome from having non-disjunction happen during mitosis, where the homologous chromosomes or sister chromatids fail to split, and we end up with essentially a double dose. Well, in this case, it wouldn't be homologous chromosomes. If it was mitosis, it would be the sister chromatids would fail to split. If it happens in meiosis, it could be the homologous chromosomes or the sister chromatids. Anyway, I digress. You'll learn more about that later, but the point is that you were supposed to already learn about mitosis in K through 12, plus your basic biology distributives, because it's relevant to our health when it goes wrong. In cancer, in Down syndrome, there'll be other examples. That is why I am recording this little lecture for you to refresh yourself. Anyway, that's it for mitosis. I hope you learned something. Take care, everybody. Bye.